Hi, my name is Julia Castellanova. I'm here to share my horrible experience and my story, knowing that sooner than later it'll get out there and my kids will see it. On May of 2013, CYS, Children and Youth of Berks County, came into my home to remove my children because the dad was an endangerment. They took me to a shelter, and of course, I left the shelter. A little backstory: I was a victim of abuse and a cycle. I was with him for like 11 years, and that's all I knew. So, anyways, they took me to the shelter. Of course, I left the shelter and I went back to the apartment because I felt that if I waited for that apartment for 4 years, that why should I leave the home that I created for my kids and let him just live there? So I went back to the apartment, but he wouldn't leave. Like, that was the agreement. I will come back and he will leave, but he never left. So Children and Youth came back to the apartment and took my kids. So fine, I left him. I took my name off the lease so then they could just take the apartment. I went into the shelter and from the shelter I went into this home for women on, like, it's a halfway house, that's what everybody calls it, but I wasn't like on drugs. Like, I was smoking weed, marijuana, sorry, and my urine was coming out dirty. But then I just found out that I was pregnant with my fourth child. So, I got myself clean. I went into this halfway house. I had to take a urine once a week in order to stay in the home. And I did, of course. So I was pregnant. By January 2014, I gave birth to my fourth child. And 2 months later, we had court, and my kid's father said that I was still communicating with him, so they believed him. And then they took my baby from me. Mind you, the reason why we're in this mess is because the kid's father, he's a manipulator and he's an abuser. Why would you believe a manipulator and abuser? Go ahead. So they took my baby from me. That's when I chose to just move from Berks County up to Lancaster, which is like an hour away. I got to protect her from abuse. I had my car. I was a manager at Sheets. I had a great apartment with appropriate rooms. My caseworker wouldn't work with me, so she just kept making things harder for me, and I still went through it. I had to travel from Lancaster to Reading once a week for my therapy, my domestic violence therapy. And then I would have to call to see if my color would show up. And if my color would show up or my color would come up, I would have to travel to Reading also to take a random drug test, and it was clean. So I will work their shift. So after my shift, I will have to call, and if my color that my caseworker gave me came up, I will have to travel that exact moment to Reading to take the drug test, pay it out of pocket, and come back home to sleep before work, and it could happen 1, 2, 3, 4 times a week. Doesn't matter. When it came up, I had to go do it. Fine, I did it. I had to travel for my visits, and every time that I would go to my visits, I would cook for my kids. I would bring activities for my kids. Like, if you see the reports that I have, they're good reports. My kids were ready to come home. Like, they had one visit at my home. One visit at my home. And that's it. Yeah, I had an outburst because they wanted me to build a support system. So when my kids came to visit at my home, my sister just so happened to be there, but they didn't want my sister there. They just wanted me to do the visit by myself. How do you expect me to have a support system if you don't even let the support around the visit? Like, it's obvious that I've always managed to do stuff for my kids, with my kids, at any given moment. So I had like a little argument with them. I still had my visit, but my sister had to sit outside for 2 hours of that visit. So it made no sense. After that, they canceled my visitations they weren't allowed to come to my home. I still traveled to Reading to do my visits in this little room. Like, I'm telling you, this room was so small, and they would fit all 4 of my kids in there. A caseworker and me, and I'm supposed to have this little visit in the room. That don't make no sense. Like, you don't give me enough space, enough time, enough anything with my kids, but you expect me to interact with my kids in this little room when we're already hot and bothered, and they're kids. They want to run around. Why do you have me in this small room? How am I supposed to show you that I could be a great mom in this small room that's confined? Anyways, I still kept doing what I had to do. No matter what they threw at me, I did it. No matter how stupid it seemed, I did it. See, my thing is that they used my weakness against me. I was a victim of abuse. So they used that against me, my weakness, which, I trusted that they would help me, and they did everything but. My caseworker would call me to have me sign papers. I wouldn't sign them unless they were with my lawyer, but my lawyer was no help either. Anything that I would tell her, she would go against, like, oh, I should just quiet down and just hear them out, this and that and the third. So it was just a whole lot of mess. Like, there was this time where I just visited my son one day, and the next day I got an email saying that a therapist said that it's not good for me to see my son, and I never got any proof of that. And just a week or two before, the same lady told me that it was detrimental for my son to be separated from me. And here we are. I haven't seen my oldest since September of 2016, when we were celebrating my second youngest's birthday. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, and I say and a lot, but it's hard for me to get into words how much it hurts. Like, you really have to be in my shoes to know the things I went through. And I say I a lot because what else am I supposed to speak about? They don't know. Like, I have communication with my 3 youngest, but how much am I really allowed in their lives? Because somebody else is raising them. My oldest, I'm not allowed to see him because I have no idea. They have their own reasons. And It's driving me insane. It's making me think irrational, but I'm not doing anything irrational. Every day that I wake up, it's like like I wake up missing them. Every Mother's Day is like a reminder. It's like I spent 36 months of my life pregnant, and I don't have my kids running around, waking me up in the middle of the night. I don't hear the I love yous. I don't feel the hugs. I don't get to celebrate the actual birthdays. I don't hear the voice. And it doesn't get easier. It just really gets harder. Because the more the days go by, it's like you're missing more and more. I'm not wild or crazy. I don't do anything that I shouldn't be doing. You know, I stay clean. I work. I'm a very positive person, as sad as it sounds. I just want my babies. Like, if you go on Google and you search Rachel Dropnik, you will see that she's made false reports and she was fired and everything. So why isn't my case being investigated? Obviously, if she did it to one case, she's done it to dozens of cases. Why isn't my case being reviewed? It's just like the system uses its mistakes to cover its mistakes, and that's not fair because I've been fighting. I want to have my kids with me. I want to raise my kids. I'm not rich, of course, but I'm a mom that's willing to go to great lengths for my kids. They didn't give me a chance to prove to them that I'm a great mom. My son one time threw himself on the floor. It's not funny. It's just like, don't you see the obvious? My son threw himself on the floor one time after a court hearing and cried and screamed, "Why wouldn't you let me go home? I want to go home to my mom. Just let me go home." I remember my kids were removed from a home because they claimed that they were being hit. I've never hit my kids. Why didn't you just let them come back home to their mom that really loved them? I wasn't with the partner. I wasn't with their dad anymore. So why aren't my kids home? Anyways, I have reports. I have emails. I have everything to prove that my kids were ready to come home. And in a split second, one day after another, they change. The people who were giving me good reports, they changed it to whoever they wanted. And the lady basically made me look bad. I don't know how is it possible when I was obviously doing great. But they believe the person with a degree or the person with a job than the actual mother. I'm always having clean urines. So what's the problem? I always managed to have a job. I managed to do everything and then some. And still, I don't have my kids. What's the point of saying that they're here to help, especially a victim of abuse, when in reality, they setting you up? My question is, they told me that they were giving me 15 months to get my stuff together. I had my stuff ready by 5 months. Yeah, 5 months or less. I've been always having my stuff. When I left my kid's father, I was set. And if 15 months was the deadline, why do you wait 3 years to finalize the adoption? Like, you understand? Like, if I was really doing so bad, why you waited 3 years? Not 15 months. 3 years to give my kid, to take my parental rights. That don't make no sense. You knew I was doing good. You just needed more time to find my faults. Not all us mothers that go through this deserve this. I'm a great person, hard worker, and no matter who you ask, they can never say anything bad about me. So why do I have my kids? Berks County Children and Youth is corrupt. And from what I'm seeing, every children and youth is corrupt. I just need to voice my story. I need my case investigated. I need something to be done because I refuse to let my kids grow up thinking that I abandoned them and I didn't want them. I refuse to let my kids grow up thinking that I'm weak and that I couldn't fight for them. I refuse to let my kids feel that absence and question themselves as kids as, why wasn't I good enough for my mom to keep me? I refuse to let my kids feel unworthy when they're worth millions of worlds put together. My name is Julia Castellanova. My kids are Jasenia Encarnacion, Anthony Encarnacion, Pedro Encarnacion, and Jacob Encarnacion. I love you, and I will never give up fighting for you. I will always have you in my heart, and I miss you so much. And when you see this video, or when you hear about this fight, I want you to know that I will never give up on you. Until my last breath, I will always fight for you, no matter what.